Hello and welcome to Critical Success. I'm Adam, and today I'm going to be talking about the role-playing game Kids on Bikes. Kids on Bikes was created by John Gilmore and Doug Lewandowski and published by Renegade Game Studios and Hunters Entertainment in 2018. It's a horror game that's meant to take place in a small town, and I say horror lightly because in truth there are a number of different genres that could be run using this system. It's self-described as a game in which you take on the role of everyday people grappling with strange, terrifying, and exceptionally powerful forces that they can't defeat, control, or even fully understand. And right off the bat, I have to point out that this is an incredibly easy system to learn. The whole book is about 70 pages or so, and I read the whole thing in just under an hour. So if you've ever played any role-playing game before, you shouldn't have any trouble at all picking this one up. There's an implied setting that the game is supposed to take place in a small town where everyone knows everyone else. However, the rest of the details are left up to the entire group. Rather than the GM coming up with all the details about the setting, there are dedicated rules to creating the setting collaboratively as part of play. There are a number of questions that players will be asked at the beginning of the game to contribute to the setting, such as what famous landmarks are there or what prominent companies exist within the town. After that, each player will be asked to come up with one or two rumors about what's been happening in the town, and I love this for a few reasons. First of all, it creates a very natural way for the players to start off with some real knowledge about the backstory of the setting, which is pretty important in a game that's supposed to take place in a town where everyone kind of knows everybody else. And second, it allows the GM to really take inspiration from these rumors and run with them, deciding which ones are true, which are just blatant lies, and which are kind of true but could be tied to something much deeper than what they seem to be on the surface. It can be really cool for a player to see a rumor that they thought of about somebody in town really pan out and become part of a deep, sinister plot that they never saw coming when they came up with it. This is a modern rules-light system which favors roleplay over mechanics and relies pretty heavily on the implication that the game's going to be treated like a collaborative storytelling experience, and for the right group, that can be a lot of fun and really rewarding. In Kids on Bikes, stats are measured by the size of the die that will be rolled when using them. For example, something you're not very good in will be either a d4 or a d6, meaning that you roll that die when using that skill, whereas something that you're particularly good in will be either a d10, a d12, or even a d20. And I typically like this system of stat measurement in games, although I was a little bit skeptical at first of the fact that they threw the d20 in the mix with this. Typically, when you have a system where your stats can be measured from a d4 to a d12, it means that it always goes in increments of 2. But by throwing the d20 in here, it means that your highest stat has a maximum possible outcome that is 8 steps above your second highest, whereas everything from there going down is 2 steps away from each other. This throws off the difficulty scale a little bit and makes it feel like characters are supernaturally good at their best stats and just pathetically hindered at their worst. This is kind of offset by the method of landing a critical success in this game called an exploding roll. So whenever you make a check, if you roll the highest possible outcome on that die, then you get to roll a second time and add it to your outcome. If you continue to roll the highest possible outcome, then you get to continue rolling and continue adding it on until you meet the difficulty for the check that you're making. This means that in a stat that you're particularly bad in, yes, you may only get to roll a d4 or a d6, but you now have a 1 in 4 or a 1 in 6 chance of landing a critical success, whereas with something that you're very good at, you might only have a 1 in 12 or even a 1 in 20 chance of landing that crit. Players also choose strengths and flaws for their characters at the start of the game, and the strengths have some mechanical advantage to them, while the flaws are just meant to be portrayed through roleplay. In addition to the player characters, the GM also makes a character with supernatural abilities, known as a powered character, who is controlled collaboratively by the entire party. The powered character is given aspects, which can be personality traits or supernatural powers, and each one is individually written down on an index card. The Game Master will then hand out 2 aspects to each player, and anytime that player wishes to use one of those aspects, they can take control of the powered character for that moment and have them use that aspect. In practice, it's a pretty cool way of giving players additional abilities to help them overcome problems in interesting ways while forcing them to use teamwork and cooperation, since the powered character can only be doing one thing at any given time. The way the powered character is presented in the book feels a little bit backwards to me. If you weren't someone who followed the Kickstarter or really researched the game ahead of time, it can be strange that the powered character isn't mentioned once until the last couple of pages in the book. It can feel a bit strange as a brand new player that the game first describes itself as being about everyday people, then walks you through character creation, gives you the entire rules for the game, makes you feel like you're ready to go and start playing, and then in the last couple pages just says, right, and by the way, you have a character with superpowers. And don't get me wrong, I love the concept of the powered character, and I think it fits really well into the game, but the way it's presented can be kind of jarring if you're not expecting it. The game feels tailored to shorter adventures spanning between 1 and 5 sessions, but there's no reason why a creative enough group couldn't run a longer campaign with a world that changes greatly between each session. So to finish off this video, of course there's not a single system out there that's for everyone, so I want to touch on why this game might not be for you. If you're the type of player or game master that likes a game that can rely on the mechanics, then this game definitely isn't for you. Every check you make and whether it succeeds or fails is meant to act as inspiration for you and the group to collaboratively decide how you're going to narrate this scene in the adventure. Overall, I think that Kids on Bikes is a seriously interesting system with the potential for fun, scary, suspenseful, and even funny campaigns, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who's into the supernatural thriller genre. Well, that's going to be it for today. I hope that this video helped to explain a little bit about Kids on Bikes and whether it's the right game for you. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what other games you'd like me to talk about. Thanks for watching. Now go play.